Hi and welcome to our presentation on our performance. So we did a postmodern interpretation of A Raisin in the Sun, which originally is a modernist text due to its portrayal of everyday life, like realistically, its symbolism, its exploration of social issues and its complex characters. We defined postmodernism as an emerging reaction to modernism in a postmodernism because it rejected the idea of one sole truth and instead wanted audiences to interpret the performances for themselves. For example, Dadaism, which was an avant-garde movement that began in Switzerland and moved all across Europe after World War I, rejected modern capitalism. It was very anti-establishment and anti-war, and it used a lot of what is now known as postmodern techniques to push socio-political issues, and that is one element that we incorporated in our postmodern interpretation. We place postmodernism between modernism and meta-modernism, which we will explain.
So the reason our interpretation is postmodern is due to using different kinds of media. For example, I made the video in the background of clips from the social and political issues going on at the moment in the country. I also used newspaper clippings and I fragmented them up and turned them into pieces, which are also quotes from people of the Conservative Party. We are using facts rather than trying to push an agenda on. We do this to allow the audience to interpret the performance for themselves, so you can take what you get out of it. We're not trying to push a certain idea onto you. You can use your own imagination to make up your own decision. Additionally, this would raise questions within the audience, causing viewers to reflect on their own experience of topics and themes mentioned. This postmodern interpretation is because postmodernism rejects as one sole truth and asks you to think of your own questions, such as the death of the author. It's a theory suggesting that the author's meaning is not important. A piece of text should actually rely on the reader's interpretation of it.
Another reason that our interpretation of A Raisin in the Sun is postmodern is because it's a fragmented narrative. We had 3 scenes and we switched up the order of which we were going to do the scenes, so it didn't provide a conventional story as such, and we did this so that you as the audience could actively decode the messages that we were putting out to you, which is a typical feature of postmodern theatre. And this would prevent you from getting too immersed into the performance. It would keep the engagement, but it would prevent becoming too lost in it and really losing the political message which opposes modernism. And this really just supports our postmodern interpretation because it doesn't follow a linear structure.
So a big part of our postmodern interpretation is using Dadaistic techniques. A big one is puppets. Puppets was very big in the Dadaism movement. So we made a puppet show and a kids show. We used the puppets fox and a bird to make a predator and prey situation, so it's more of a metaphor. We linked it to the Conservative Party and the working class. Another part of this is representing different groups of people. Is we have some people on the floor and some people on seats. So you have different levels and different levels of comfort, showing difference in hierarchies. Dadaism is very anti-establishment. It's an art movement which is against authority. It views power as corrupt and repressive. And many of the artists involved with Dadaism often had left-wing political views. Another technique we use is humour and silliness, which is a large part of Dadaism as well, which is why we incorporated a puppet show and a child show into that whilst putting our own memories in.
So in conclusion, our performance was postmodern through the pastiches of media, the non-linear, fragmented narrative and the puppetry, because all of these things rejected modernist methods. And as well as this, we included intertextuality, so we referenced A Raisin in the Sun at the end with a quote from Fox. We broke the fourth wall consistently and we didn't adhere to any naturalistic techniques. Our interpretation, the main message of it, was a socio-political based message. basically explaining how the UK Conservative Party negatively impacted the lifestyles of working class people with the cost of living crisis. That's why we had some people on chairs, some people on the floor, some people got sweets, some people didn't, really just pushing that class division. And using postmodern techniques in our interpretation allowed us to be creative in the way that we displayed these messages. So instead of just putting a load of facts on a board and boring you, we physically showed you what it would be like to be treated differently.